Our leading story today, the United Nations has pledged 6 billion rands towards ending the AIDS epidemic in South Africa. Now, this was revealed at the 21st International AIDS Conference in Durban. South Africa has the world's largest population of people living with HIV, and the funds will help expand the antiretroviral program, which provides treatment to more than 3 million patients. And for more from the conference, we're now joined live by reporter Blain Herman. Blain, a very good afternoon to you. Well, big news in terms of the cash assistance. Do tell us more. The complaints there is always that there isn't enough funding for AIDS-related research programs. But how far will this go in assisting that impasse?
Indeed, Alicia, never enough. I was just talking to the co-founder of the antiretrovirus, that was Francois Senosi, and she's a Nobel laureate, and she was saying funding is never enough. And now with this trend of countries pulling back in terms of their funding, that is not going to help the situation at all. But a 6 billion rand injection will go a long way in terms of helping countries like South Africa in terms of stepping up their ARV programs. Remember, around the world, there's about 17 million people that are on antiretroviral. Back here in South Africa, that number is about 3.4 million. If you look at the numbers in 2007, it was around 400,000 people. So you see, we've come a long way, but indeed, funding, that's the call. Even if we're looking at the prospects of developing a cure for AIDS, that is going to be crucial in terms of getting as much funding from around the world as possible. We were speaking to civil society as well, and they say the feel is different in countries like Europe than it is here in Africa, in South Africa. So, people really need to come here, really need to be engaged in the situation to see the extent of that funding and how it will help the situation here.
Look, Blain, now it is day 3 today. What can you tell us in terms of what is expected to take place today?
Well, a number of sessions are going on. Remember, there's about 500 sessions throughout this week for the next 5 days. And we understand Bill Gates is in the building. He met with Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa. They will have discussions with regards to how can they help in terms of the fight against HIV. We're hoping to speak to the First Lady, Thobeka Madiba Zuma. She's going to elaborate. She has been appointed as the UN AIDS advocate for health of women, youth as well as children. So she's going to talk to us in a little while in terms of what she's doing on the ground in terms of helping HIV AIDS infected people. What programs are there? What awareness programs are there? Remember, we're tackling youth, the vulnerable key populations between 15 and 24, young women, girls between this age group is very much in sharp focus. So we'll hear more from the First Lady in terms of what's being done in order to put paid to the scourge of AIDS here in South Africa.
Look, Blain, very quickly, yesterday it seems that what has come across from this conference particularly is the fact that rights groups like the LGBTI as well as the transgender groups have been openly saying that they need to form the vital part of such conferences as well as research. What have you uncovered when you speak to such on the ground?
These are the vital groups, the key populations that we were talking about, and that's the sharp focus which is being put on these groups. We're also talking to sex workers who are calling for the decriminalization of sex work in South Africa. They want their voices heard. They want to tell the world leaders, they want to tell policymakers their plight, how much they need in terms of sorting out this problem on the ground. That's where it's felt on the ground. We're talking about these key groups, youth, young people, in terms of being infected. UNAIDS released the statistics just recently, in fact, about 2,500 young women are being infected every week in South Africa. Now, I just see now that the First Lady has joined us. We call it in the business a hot change. So we'll bring in the First Lady here, Thobeka Madiba Zuma, live on air. Thank you very much indeed for your time. We were just talking about, the fact that we need action now. That window of opportunity is closing fast, isn't it? We need to act now.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I think I can't agree with you more. The fact that we need to act now, and if not now, then when? If not us, then who? because the rates and the statistics on the new infection rate, especially between the vulnerable group being young girls between the age of 15 and 24, is alarming, and it seeks to undermine all the good work that has been done by our government.
You have a foundation.
Yes.
It's calling for new infections rates to be zero. It's calling for a TB-free society. Do you believe that this generation, it's possible with this generation?
We need to be very optimistic about the challenge that we are facing now. It is not the first challenge that we've faced. We need to ensure that we eradicate, the deaths caused by HIV/AIDS. It may not be in our generation, but given the amount of research underway that is seeking to really find not only the cure but the vaccine, which is key to empower our women, that if they are vaccinated against this disease, in that way we will know that there will be a population that will be free of TB and free of HIV/AIDS. And I do believe that we, as a collective, government may be the custodian of its people, but it needs other stakeholders as well, needs the community to also rally behind our government to ensure that we all take the struggle forward and to another level.
But it's calls for sustained healthcare in South Africa, isn't it? Can South Africa provide that adequately?
I believe it can. If you look back at how our country had regressed in the area of HIV/AIDS, I think we have really milestones to be proud of. In the world, we are one of the countries that are leading in terms of the antiretroviral provision to the people that are affected by the disease. And if you look back, how many years did it take our country to do that? And also, if you look back at the history says not too long ago, our people that were on ARVs were about 400,000, but now we are amongst the leading countries in the world. So I think it would be possible. Of course, our Minister of Health inherited many problems and many competing priorities, health priorities, for him to say, who do I save? Do I save the baby? Do I save the mother? What do I attend to first? And it was clear that the minister had taken bold steps together with the president, the current president. They took bold steps to reverse what had happened and ensure that our people are on ARVs. And we've seen the life expectancy, which is one of our milestones. We've seen that our people are now leading normal lives, although they are HIV positive. But again, remains a challenge of ensuring that when we prevent the onset of the disease, we ensure that we find the vaccine to, as I said, to protect the most vulnerable group, and those are our girl children.
Thank you very much indeed for your time. First Lady Thobeka Madiba-Zuma, expressing her views, saying it can be possible, it is indeed possible to rectify the situation, the scourge of HIV/AIDS. Remember, South Africa has come a long way in terms of mother-to-child transmission. We've reduced that down to less than 2%. So indeed, it is possible. Progress has been made. We'll look to this conference to see what's the way forward in terms of the fight against HIV and AIDS. Alicia?
Thank you so much. That is our reporter on the ground there at the 21st AIDS conference out in Durban, Blain Herman. He was joined by First Lady Thobeka Madiba-Zuma.